Hey y'all, it's GLS, and today's video is an absolutely massive one. Look how much I have on the board. So today's video is a experimental one, again, like the year-long seasons. Today's is 1000 asterisk 1024 team leagues. Obviously, this isn't gonna happen. And considering all the writing, it's a highly creative project. I wanted to start first off with sports, and the sports it could potentially be in. Now I got a new camera with a new phone, so it's gonna feel a lot more zoomed in than my regular videos. So yeah, fun. I don't have a 0.5 camera anymore, so that kind of sucks, but you know, it's whatever. Let's get into it. Let's get with the team sports. And just before I talk about these team sports that you see on the screen right now, wanted to tell you about our key right here. The X, it means no, not happening. The question mark or exclamation mark, maybe. And this is kind of my my kind of estimation of what could actually happen, what's possible, plausible, feasible, all of those big words, but my personal opinion. So to start off, we have football, and a variation of that would be the CFL. That's not happening. We all know football, American football, gridiron football. That's just not happening. Even in Europe and the European Football League, the Italian Football League, the German Football League, what have you not. It's just not happening. Every league in the entire world for gridiron football merging together is just not possible, even the junior teams. Even the United Football League, even though there's only 8 teams. I digress. It's just not happening. Even arena football. Next up is baseball. Now, with how big baseball is in America and worldwide, it's an up-and-coming sport worldwide, like Korea, Japan, a lot in Europe now too, surprisingly, and a lot more people just around the world in the MLB. It's becoming a more diverse sport with its athletes. That's just kind of a different way to look at it too. The variations I wanted to mention are base 5, Pesapallo, which is Finnish kind of baseball, different rules, it's a variation, and Athletes Unlimited Softball League. I wanted to bring in softball too because it's female baseball, but it's still very important to talk about, mostly because of its effect on college sports. One of my favorite personal college sports is softball. I don't know why. I've loved Oklahoma's long dynasty that they've had. I've been pretty much an Oklahoma Sooners fan because of that. I've been rooting for their other teams, even though I have no personal connection to Oklahoma. I just love their softball team. I digress. The next sport is hockey. This is just straight up not happening. Even if you have Ice 3 or even the Russian bandy, which is like a soccer-sized piece of ice with a ball and a bigger net and more people. It's not happening. I don't even need to talk about that further. Basketball could happen because of the worldwide spread of basketball. Now, I don't have any variations of basketball. None that really strike me anyway. There's some leagues. The baseball league, I believe it's called. It's probably not that, but it could be the name. I used to watch that a little bit. This could be structured a lot like the college basketball structure. I mentioned that over there too, just as a foreshadowing, I guess. Because of how big Division 1 is, and because there's a possibility that you could potentially replace March Madness with a massive bracket of teams, like all 1,700 basketball teams, that would be kind of cool. That's an idea I've had for 4 years now. There's gonna be a video on that in like 8, 9 months. I want to make that professionally. Just as a kind of forward of what I want to do. These videos, these kind of styles of videos are not going to be everything I make. They get me into talking a little bit more, and I'm still not great with a camera, even with my cadence. I have to breathe a lot, but I digress. Let's get on to the next sport. Lacrosse. Now, this isn't my first time recording it, and when I was talking about it with my friend who was watching me record the first one, he mentioned the MLL, the PLL, NLL. Now, there was a merger in, I believe, 2020, where the PLL and MLL, this spot, not NLL, MLL, Major League Lacrosse, merged to become one league. Now, I would have had MLL if I was none the wiser, but just to prove that point, it's only the PLL. And lacrosse isn't happening. That's too big of a sport, too niche of a sport, too. It's not that popular. And I just don't really see it happening. Now, soccer could happen because it is the biggest sport in the world. Now, the United States has the MLS, USL 1 and championship leagues, 2 different leagues, and NISA, the semi-pro league. Now, the last 2 of those 3 are levels of competition that Detroit City has played with, along with, I believe, Michigan Stars FC, my 2 favorite soccer teams in Michigan. They were both semi-pro, came up together, they're rivals. But I do love me some Detroit City FC soccer. I've been to a couple games. Very good. I love me some Nate Steinwasser, my favorite goalkeeper of all time. I've met him. He's very nice. But I digress. I believe soccer could be the most plausible out of a 1,000-team league, mostly because of how big it is, and the English football pyramid as well, with its 24 levels, could all mash together. I should have got that number of how many teams are in England, but it's definitely more than 1,000, and it's definitely plausible. A con of that would be it's just a bigger FA Cup, really. Or it could even be Europa League, UECL, kind of that, Champions League, whatever. It could be kind of that deal, sort of. I just don't see that happening. Obviously, there's going to be a regular season of I don't know how many games, and you play a very slim amount of teams. So, like, divisions would be in leagues of, like, 40. You play every team once and your rival twice, and you have to choose a rival. Sometimes it's not that good of a rival. It's kind of like a forced rivalry, like MLB's rivalry weekend, where the Tigers played the Blue Jays, even though they're not rivals. That kind of deal. But I digress there as well. Cricket is another option. I don't think it's happening. Cricket's too big, especially test cricket. Those pitches are massive. Field of play is insane. There's also T20 and standard size. I won't delve into that right now because I don't fully understand it. Myself, I'm still learning. Rugby as well, the Major League Rugby would be kind of a cool little area too. And that's the end of the teams. Obviously, there's more teams. I wanted to pace myself though, because that's a lot. I believe that is 8 we've talked about. There's more team sports. There's obviously more individual sports than what I've listed there too, which we're about to get into. But the options are there. Maybe I left out one that could be pretty feasible for a 1,000-team league. Maybe I didn't have the right idea for one of them that I crossed out as no. All of them are no. But that's just my opinion. And let's get into individual sports. Racing, obviously no. But it's variations of F1, IndyCar, NASCAR. Those are obviously really cool. And those are individual ones, not obviously. F1 is teams of 2. IndyCar is teams of whatever. NASCAR is teams of whatever. Maybe they're all 2. I'm not entirely sure. Not huge into racing. But yeah, that could feasibly be possible, but you'd have to have a massive track, and NASCAR wouldn't be possible. Maybe F1 if you have like 24-hour races with over 2,000 people racing, but that's just not possible. Theoretically, if you could do it, it would be in a simulation like a game, or not even sure. That wouldn't even be possible in a simulation game like Trackmania. So I'm not a big fan of that idea. Tennis could happen with singles and doubles. You could have like teams made up of 3 or 4, have them rotate for singles and doubles and have events and stuff. That could be possible. Obviously, you'd have to have a playoffs of a lot of teams there, but that's neither here nor there for that. Golf is possible. PGA, LIV, and I forgot to write down one. TGL, the golf league, the indoor golf league, makes that much more possible. Because the TGL has teams, and I should have put it up there too. It is quite possible to have teams in golf because there is an actual example of that. And individual kind of ones also have their own disadvantage because of this one example I want to show you. Large marathons already have participants of teams of 1, which is another technicality, where they're all racing in massive numbers to try and win the race. Boston Marathon is one that I'd like to name outright because of its high level and kind of standard it has in society, its relevance. Obviously, there have been some awesome records on that track. It's not the best records of all time, but there are a lot of records there. That would be an Olympics and multisport as well. Decathlon, not possible. That's too many people. Multisport Ironmans, and I wanted to mention 30 times Ironmans as just because they're cool. It's an Ironman. If you know what an Ironman is, it's 3 sports: swimming, running, and biking. And they are standard lengths. I'm forgetting the exact lengths currently, but that is the 30 times length of all of them. 30 times length swimming, 30 times length running, 30 times length biking, and it is the ultimate endurance test on your entire body. And this brings me to my last individual kind of participants level sport, volleyball. Now that's more of a team thing, obviously, but it's individual in the way that it's more of a tennis thing. It could be team-based, it could be individual-based, it's rotational-based. I should have a different kind of division of that too. Tennis and volleyball being division-based, or rotation-based. Because of their ability to rotate players, rotate people around. Obviously, volleyball has variations of 2, 4, 5. I've even seen some 3 teams. I've seen some 6, not professional, obviously, but just you could have teams of 10 as well if you have a big enough volleyball court. Obviously not standard, but that's also fun. There's a lot of different variations of volleyball too. Beach volleyball, standard on whatever, water volleyball. There's also water polo, which is water soccer pretty much with your hands, which is fun. Obviously not right for everyone, but I digress. I want to talk about playoff structure now. The playoffs could consist of many different variations. I wanted to bring up World Series versions, which is just the top 2 teams in the entire league based on tiebreakers and such. Maybe there's not tiebreakers and whatnot, but there could be other things in fact in play. Just outright winning the league because you have enough games. And obviously, I think this team would benefit from a longer than 1 year season. Maybe your seasons are every 2 years. You have half season champions, you have second half season champions, and you have overall champions, and then that affects your point system. But, you know, that's here too. Playoffs of 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, and 512 teams. So brackets of powers of 2, and then you match up however you like in that. That would take forever for a 512 team playoff. Obviously, that's half of 1,024 there, which is a standard in North America. Like hockey is 16 of 32. Baseball is, I believe, 12 of 30. Basketball is too many. You can pretty much call it 20 of 30 there. And football, which is 14 of 32 there. So powers of 2 would most benefit hockey if it were, because of the standard in America. Obviously not the standard everywhere, because having too many teams in the playoffs overstates the kind of play level, which is a con of many leagues as well, like basketball. You don't want to see many blowouts. You don't want to see an Oklahoma City Thunder versus Memphis Grizzlies 2025, but you also do kind of want to see a Tampa Bay Lightning versus Columbus Blue Jackets 2019, where Columbus beat the top team ever in the Tampa Bay Lightning. But that will only be more extreme as the more teams you have, because of diversity and like sample size and whatnot. Round robins and ladders. I want to talk about ladders first, because those are two different types of bracket things. Ladder brackets go as such. I gave you a 4-team example. So the 4 plays the 3, the winner of that game plays the 2, the winner of that game plays the 1 for the championship, and the winner is announced that way. Now that only works really with a small amount of teams, like 4, 8. Having too many, I believe, like anything more than 8 would be too many for a ladder bracket. So obviously that could be an option if you go the smaller route. Round robins obviously get too big too. If you have round robins, you could go like teams of 8, have them play 4 games, like 2 different divisions. Inside of those round robins, have the top 2 of those divisions play each other and then go on to a bigger bracket. But that could be also a little bit too time consuming as well. Conference to national brackets, like a college basketball, like how the Big Ten championship is most of the conference playing in a bracket, and the winner gets an automatic bid to the national March Madness. There could be many different ways to subset brackets as well. My idea of a 1,700 team league has this in some facet. There's some round robins. All of these could be in like kind of combination. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. The round robin, a ladder, a conference to national. They could be many different things. And yeah, there's a lot of options you could go this way. A lot more than I've even listed. You could have single elimination, double elimination, triple, quadruple, quintuple, best 5-game guarantee, which is quintuple elimination. Yeah, there's a lot of different routes you could go. The point system for regular season games could also be in play too. Like if you have tennis, you play 100 games or something, you could have a 2-1-0. 2 points for a win that doesn't go into, let's say, extra kind of whatever, extra sets. Like you could have a best of 3 set match, and the 5th match doesn't go into the extra tiebreaker stuff. That could be 2 points. If it does go into extra stuff and you lose, you can get 1 point. If you lose in 4 sets or less, 4 or 3 sets, you could get 0 points. Different matchups as well, or 3-2-1. I don't really want to explain that right now. Or there could be racing points or Olympics/track points. Like you could get 100 points per win and then have like 20, 25 matches. So you have set opponents for the year, kind of like college football. Like you could have your conference games, your out of conference games, your FCS matchups for money. That's an entire option as well. Yeah, there's many different options and routes you could go there as just different ideas you could have. A collective bargaining agreement for this league would be absolute hell, especially financially. Speaking of financially, this is how you would realistically do it. Funding would be private or public, mostly public, depending on how big the sport is how much public funding you would get. And that, of course, is going to be based on the cities. In North America, you would have teams in all major cities. Definitely multiple per city. Like back in the 1860s, Brooklyn had 7 or 8 teams in Brooklyn alone. New York had 4 or 5 in New York at one time in the 50s, including Negro Leagues. So that's a thing. And then worldwide teams would most definitely be in play because having 1,000 teams in one continent will completely just flood the entire skill set, and it would dramatically have different like not skill sets, but levels of play, which is a level of competition. That would be a major problem if it was just in one continent, very clearly. One more thing that I believe I forgot to mention is Australian rules football that I wanted to mention over here. Forgot to write it down. That's also a variation of football, and it is awesome. Go Brisbane Lions. Now to our pros and cons. A pro of this would be major advocacy for that sport. It would get a lot of funding. It would be highly accessible. It would be highly influential. All 3 of these complement each other. There are more pros to this than just those. Level of competition would go so high up because of the absolute amount of players that are playing in the sport. Another con would be the difference of level of competition. The top team is going to be so much better than the worst team, and if those teams play, the sport will be unwatchable. That specific game will be unwatchable. The top team wouldn't even play their best players. They would probably bring in their second level players and play that team. So that's a problem. That's already a problem in college basketball with specific first round games. Like if Alabama was the 1 seed and they played 16 seed Bryant, Alabama's not going to play their best players. Yeah. And obviously another con of that is far too many teams. Yeah, that's a lot of teams, bro. I don't even think there's that many teams in total for the Major 4 in North America, and they're like top levels. All of baseball is, say, 200 games. Football is like 50. Hockey's like 100. Basketball is, I don't even know. But there's a lot of college teams, obviously. As I've said, all of those different levels of college basketball are more than that. So that could be a possibility. A lot of cons would be funding. A lot of these teams would fold. It could not sustain 1,024 teams just because of too many teams needing money. A lot of the big teams would have to pay the small teams for them to even exist. It's like the WNBA right now, solely existing off of the NBA just because it is just just keeping it alive, pretty much. So there's that. And this idea is obviously super insane. I wanted to give this idea the kind of effort it deserves, which is why this is a 25-minute video. But yeah, that's a lot to think about. There's so much more to think about in this that will get past a 25-minute video. But somehow this all fits on one whiteboard. And there's much, much more to talk about. This is a brief explanation of sports in general, brief explanation of playoff variations, point systems, brackets, pros and cons of regular sports and how they work. It's obviously kind of how sports work in general. And it's more of a video essay than an idea now. So yeah, thank you for watching my longest video one take so far, and thank you.